Hi, this is Sarah Mayo, Peer Review Operations Manager at PLOS, and I'm going to show you how to invite reviewers within Editorial Manager. As a section editor, your responsibility for most incoming submissions will be to secure an academic editor or guest editor who will then invite reviewers and do the initial evaluation of any reviews that we receive. However, there may sometimes be circumstances in which you need to invite reviewers, maybe because an academic editor is no longer available, or no academic editors agreed to handle the manuscript initially, and it's necessary to get it moving through the review process. In order to start this process, you will go to the submission record in Editorial Manager and click the link, Invite Reviewers. There are a couple of settings that I'd like to draw your attention to off the bat. One is that each article at PLOS starts with a default required number of reviews. For most PLOS journals, this is 3. What this means is that if we have fewer than 3 reviewers agreed, or 3 reviewers who have completed reviews, the system will consider the review process to be incomplete, and Editorial Manager will continue sending reminder emails to the editor responsible for the manuscript, reminding them to take action, in this case, to invite more reviewers until we hit that required threshold of 3. It is possible to change the number of required reviews. You may do this by emailing the journal office and we'll change it on your behalf. For example, it is usually okay to move forward with 2 reviews if those reviews are substantive. Once reviewers receive an invitation, if we don't receive a response from them within 6 to 7 days, the invitation will be canceled. We can always re-invite reviewers. That option will be available within Editorial Manager, but we have typically found that if we don't hear back within 6 days, then oftentimes the reviewer is in fact not available. So when it comes time to invite reviewers, one of the places you may wish to start is by seeing whether any reviewers were suggested by the authors. If they are, they'll appear in this tab. You'll see their name and email address. You can select the suggested reviewers if they are already within our Editorial Manager reviewer database, meaning they already have an Editorial Manager account of their own with the journal. And if they don't, you can use this option, register and select a new reviewer to register an account on their behalf. This will use their email address to open an account, and then you will be able to send an invitation to that person. In many cases, though, if you would like to search for a reviewer, you'll use the simple search function, which is very similar to the search function used to discover academic editors. If you have reviewer candidates in mind, you can search for them by last name, email address. Oftentimes, it may be useful to use more than one search criterion in combination, especially if somebody, for example, has a very common last name. You may want to search by their last name and their first name, or any other variety of search criteria. If you don't have a reviewer candidate in mind and instead you're trying to discover possible reviewers, you may instead try searching by personal classifications. If you look over here on the left, one of the things linked is the manuscript details, where the authors will possibly have any classifications that they've chosen for their manuscript. Reviewers may also have selected personal classifications, and so it is possible sometimes to search by these terms and see whether any reviewers have matching classifications selected. So in this case, I'm going to go quite simple and just say I'm looking for someone whose personal classifications includes the term disease. When I click search, in this case, it's going to come up with only a few options because this is a test site. This does not include our full live reviewer database, but this is in general what the list will look like. It will be ordered alphabetically. You'll be able to see the person's name, their department usually, and then their institution, which for these cases will mostly be Strive or PLOS. And it will also show you which classification match they have with the manuscript. So example, this person also has a match with the term medicine and health sciences among their classifications, as do several other of these candidates. Whereas this person has 3 classifications that match with the manuscript. And in most cases, the more manuscript matches, the more likely their expertise is to line up with that of the submission. You can also look for more details about a potential candidate by clicking on their name. This will open their people details, which will have their location, email address, and their full range of personal classifications, which will give you a better sense of what their expertise really is. So when you want to invite somebody, you will click this box next to INV for invite. You can also click this box, ALT, for alternate. And I'm going to click a mix of these and then show you what happens by clicking proceed. Apologies, I'm going to briefly give all of these people reviewer roles within the system. And now what we have is two groupings: reviewers that will receive an invitation as soon as I go ahead and click invite, and reviewers who will be queued up as alternates. The people queued as alternates won't receive an invitation right away. Instead, they will only receive an invitation if one of the other invited reviewers declines or their invitation expires. Editorial Manager will then automatically promote one of the alternate reviewers and send the invitation email on your behalf. This can be really useful to keep you from having to keep going into the system and adding more and more reviewers. If you create a sort of batch of alternate reviewers, Editorial Manager will do the manual part of that work for you. You can customize any reviewer invitation letters. As usual, these have a default template, including the basic manuscript details and handling instructions for reviewers. You can also add text here and save it. The due date is automatically set to 10 to 14 days from the time of the invitation, depending on which PLOS journal you're working with. And you can click confirm selections and proceed to go ahead and send those initial invitations. In this case, though, I'm going to click cancel so that we do not send out any accidental emails. Once you come back to this menu, if you have sent invitations, you will then see the reviewers you invited in this invited reviewer space and any alternates that are queued in this space. You can also manually promote alternate reviewers if you'd like to send out an invitation to them a little bit earlier, before somebody else has declined or been uninvited. You can do that by clicking what will appear to be an icon of stairs. That is essentially the promotion button, which will trigger an email being sent to them. There's another tool that can sometimes be useful for locating reviewers that is built into the Editorial Manager system, and this is the Web of Science Reviewer Locator tool. What this does is search by keyword terminology and especially keywords from the title of the article to see if there are matches with expertise for people who are possibly within Editorial Manager's reviewer database, but the information it's drawing from is actually in their own Web of Science profile. So when I click this tab and open the tool, which will take a moment, there we go. So what you'll now see is their name and institution and email address, and then their classifications within Web of Science. So these are the keywords that they've selected. There will also oftentimes be an option here to look at their actual researcher profile and their publications so that you can get a bit more of an idea of what they study, what their expertise is. You will notice for some of these candidates that because I have titled this test manuscript test run through, Web of Science has picked up on the word run in particular, and it is looking for that within the Web of Science profiles of the reviewers that it's collected. So depending on what keywords are available for Web of Science to use, the accuracy of these suggestions may be better or worse. So it's very important that even if somebody has been listed here by Web of Science as a possible reviewer, that you do still check their profile, look up their publications, and make sure that their expertise really is correct for the manuscript. And as with the other reviewer menu, you will invite or designate someone as an alternate the exact same way. You will also have the ability, if somebody does not already have an account, to proxy register an editorial manager account for them. And that is the basics of the peer review invitation system. As always, if you have any questions when you're inviting reviewers or you need assistance with Editorial Manager, you're always welcome to reach out to the journal office at the email address designated for that particular PLOS journal, and we'll be more than happy to help.